What you doing tonight? What you doing tonight? It's mixing night with Ken Lewis tonight. What you doing tonight? What you doing tonight? We got some dog treats for Mazzy to chew on tonight.
Welcome to Mixing Night. I'm your host, Ken Lewis, and I have pretty much the weirdest resume in the entire music industry. I'm here with my four-legged daughter, Mazzy Lewis, holding down security and treats. We have an action-packed show for you. Woo! Tonight is Stereo-izing night. Woo! And I'm going to show you 2 gazillion techniques to take your boring-ass vanilla mono-ness and spread it all over the stereo spectrum, left to right, front to back. We are using all 3 dimensions tonight. Basically, everything that I know how to do, I'm going to show you how to do, and you'll know how to do it by night's end, so stick around. In other news, tonight is the full reveal of our little beast, LOLCOMP. Oh my God. We've been working on this thing for over a year, and it is finally ready. Pre-sale begins right now. If you go to mixingnighaudio.com, we've got the pre-sale going on until August 14th. So open a new tab and go on and, check it out. We are very excited. Like I said, licenses go out August 14th. We absolutely smashed it with LOLCOMP. It thoroughly exceeds my expectations, and it's replaced a lot of my other plugins. You guys will see tonight. I'm going to pull up a full mix I did. It's full of them. So easy and powerful and fun. Speaking of August 14th, the day we launch LOLCOMP, we are kicking off a LOLCOMP mixing contest. You can download a 14-day trial on August 14th. We're going to serve up a killer Obscene Stealers raw multi-track for you guys to mix, and you can only use LOLCOMP and one EQ of your choice. We're not heathens around here. I hear Len Kuis is entering, though, so, buyer beware. Len Kuis is going to be throwing down. July was a great and terrible month for me. Man, right after the last show, a few days after the last show, I got sick AF for like 8 days straight. Couldn't eat, lost 9 pounds, so I'm pretty svelte now. But on the positive side, I'm also co-producing a song that might never come out, but if it does, my spidey senses tell me that it is going to be a big, big career song for me. So fingers crossed, no jinxing it. Oh, but man, it's just an absolute monster. And that's the challenge of this business, that many, and I mean many, of what I would consider the best songs I have ever worked on just never came out. Nature of the business. Anybody at my level will tell you the exact same thing. Weird, but true. So anyway, stick around tonight. You can see the agenda on screen. We have crammed about as much as we possibly can into tonight's show. And if you're catching the restream, thanks for tuning in. Share it with an audio friend. Okay, tonight's Sprint Mix is a song that I produced and mixed titled Make the World Go Away by the incomparable Bruce Sudano. That dude has written an absolute slew of #1s and big hits. He's a brilliant writer and artist. I produced and mixed his new album titled Ugly Truth, Pretty Lies, which is dropping soon. I don't know the exact release date. He might. And I got to bring in all of my musical friends to make this album, which I was super thrilled about. I got Dylan Wissing on drums and percussion, Antar Goodwin on bass, Marcus Lauer on Hammond organ, Irene Blackman on backing vocals. I just saw Irene last weekend. And Danny Flam from New York Brass on the horn section. Whew! All live players making a killer record. Thank you all for your contributions. When I envisioned what direction to take this song as a producer, I wanted to make it feel like the modern version of the Sopranos theme. So when you're listening, if you know the Sopranos theme, let me know if you hear the influence within it. And tonight I'm sprint mixing it. 30 mixed stems, volume randomized for me by Jonathan Garcia. And I have 10 minutes from faders completely down to the best rough mix that I can possibly deliver in only 10 minutes. Sprint mixing hones my mixing instincts and my gut, lets me forget the tech and the plugins and focus on what is coming out of the speakers and react musically to it. It's like athletic training for your for your mixing chops. And it's not how I do full mixes, but it helps my instincts and my decision making during full mixes, and I'm just so much faster, and I believe in my mix. I believe in my decision making so much more. And honestly, the last 3 years of doing the show with sprint mixing, man, my mixing chops have really improved. And I've been doing this shit 30 years. So if I can improve from this, maybe you can too. Let's see. And so I got 20 seconds per stem, 30 stems, 10 minutes, 20 seconds per stem to make every decision I can make. Welcome to Mixing Night. Thank you for joining us. I am Ken Lewis, and this is Bruce Sudano, Make the World Go Away. I'm still wearing a mask because we launched the show during the first lockdown of COVID in March 2020 when the fucking nuclear bomb was hitting New York and New Jersey. So it's kind of tradition at this point. And anyway, here we go with Bruce Sudano, Make the World Go Away. 10 minutes on the clock, and enjoy. All right, here we go. So I'm only using the Slate FGX2 to get the final volume better out to you guys to listen, so that you're not hearing a super quiet mix, but I'll be backing it off as I finish the mix.
Make the world go away. Make the world go.
Shoulders. I'm tired of carrying it around. Feels like a ton of bricks somewhere. Oh Lord, only you can help me now. Can you take the weight off my shoulders? I'm tired. Lord, only you can help me now. Can you take the weight off my shoulders? the world go away. Make the world go away. Make the world go away. Make the world go away. Blame it on a rainy day. Make the world go away. Non-stop, it's another story.
Woo! All right. Let me get back to normal lighting here. Hang on. And there we go. Back to IG Live. All right. So that was Bruce Sudano, Make the World Go Away. I produced and mixed that song, brought in all my friends. Bruce is a killer. So sprint mixing, if you look at, if you can maybe see the overhead view, if you look at my SSL controllers, here's the first 16 channels. Now, when these mix stems were printed, all of the faders would have been at 0. So then I had Jonathan volume randomize them, so I have no idea what the actual level should have been. And it's up to me to make real decisions in real time as I sprint mix and try and just put it together best I can. So I think I put it together pretty darn well. I'm very happy with this. And you can see, again, every fader is just completely random. I have no idea. I'm just going on pure feel, pure instinct, just listening to what's coming out of the speakers, listening to what I'm pulling up on the fader, reacting to it, finding where it balances best, and then leaving it there. And doing that in rapid succession several times in a row, get a bunch of balances together, then pause, back up a little bit, evaluate what I'm doing, see if there's any, like when I soloed all the drums and percussion. Oh, you. When I soloed all the drums and percussion, you know, I'm just like fine-tuning my balances, then everything goes back in and I start pulling stuff back together. Now, the elongated version of this, when I do mixing for real, usually if I have, say, 100-track mix, every track is going to be in my mix within a half an hour tops, every single one. They're not going to be in all of the right places. They're not going to be doing all of the right things, but they're going to be balanced really well. And I'm going to be able to evaluate my entire mix. You hush it up, woman. You just relax. She's so spoiled. And then I can start, once I have everything in my mix and balanced well, then I can really start mixing and evaluating, because mixing is affected by everything else. The lead vocal affects how the snare sounds. The snare affects how the vocal sounds. Piano can step all over a vocal, or it can be out of the way. Lay down. Lay down and stop spoiling. Lay down. Lay down. Down. Good girl. All right. You're not going to get unruly just yet. Yes, I am. Oh, she is. She's totally is. So anyway, and then, you know, over time, I can spend as long as I want on a full mix and do, you know, try whatever and spend as much time as I want. But usually everything goes much faster because your decision making is a lot sharper. You trust yourself. That's really the key. Young mixers, I know I was there for years. It's hard to trust yourself. It's hard to know where the finish line is. But if you keep mixing and you practice mixing every day, that finish line becomes more and more evident. And eventually you're just like, oh, you don't even think about it. You just mix until you're done. And then you go like, okay, nothing else to do. Let's listen. And you might listen 10, 20 times down and tweak little things here and there as you go. But for the most part, you know, it is what it is. I am going to bring up the most exciting thing of the whole night. Oh, where is it? I gotta find it. So we here at Mixing Night, we launched a plugin company last year called Mixing Night Audio. Oh yes. And the first thing we put out is Green HAAS. If you've seen the show, you've seen Green HAAS. We absolutely love Green HAAS. I'm going to show you a bunch of Green HAAS tricks tonight. But tonight, the big reveal for our new little beast, LOLCOMP. So LOLCOMP, it's much more than just a compressor, but it compresses. Its main function is compression, and then it does so much more. And what I've done is I've taken 5 of my regular process chains that I use all the time with other plugins, and I figured out how to emulate all 5 of those process chains and put them under the hood And so when you push up the dial here, when you push up the dial here, everything underneath the hood is changing in ratios. The compression, attack, and release times change. Other things get added or subtracted, and you get much different results on every single chain, which I'm about to demonstrate to you. And then it instantiates like this. And if you hit the parallel button, then you get the LMAO section, along with filters and a mix knob. And I'm going to show you all of this stuff. But here are all of the chains. Here's Panda. I love Panda so much. You know, if you don't like Mixing Night plugins, we don't think alike. I've always wanted a plugin company to make something that's like really just fun to look at and kind of lighthearted, but also incredibly powerful. And that is exactly what LOLCOMP is. So here's Peacock. Oh, Peacock is like the pretty chain. And then finally Dragon, which Lori designed the whole Dragon chain. Look at that. Oh, we love the Dragon chain. So all the 5 different chains, LOL chain is this is like a vocals and everything else chain. Almost anything sounds good with the LOL chain as long as you don't hit it too hard. The Panda chain is like a limited, it's like a limiter, but it also has a touch of saturation. So the more that you push into it, the more you limit and the more you saturate, and it's got a sound to it. And Punch chain with the Kangaroo is like drums fabulous. Anything, drums, bass, anything that I want to really sit and be controlled, but all, you know, and be compressed, the Punch chain is the one. And then Peacock chain is the real pretty chain. If it's just a little dull or dark or whatever, this thing is going to pretty it up. And then the Dragon chain is just distortion. Well, it starts as saturation, then it moves into distortion. All right, let me just show this thing off a little bit. Here we go, drum loop. So drums, I immediately start with the Punch chain, the Kangaroo. Levitate can either left, it fattens it up, or right, it thins it out. Super easy. So you're like, Ken, but it's too dark now. No, it's not, because we have an Awaken chain too, and the Awaken will put a lot of that right back. And the high end of the Awaken chain is like a air band. Listen to all those shakers and hats come out. Mash is like it's like a L2 style limiter. And then finally we have Oxidate, which is basically 5 different flavors of reverb. I've got it set so that it blends really nicely where the middle is set, but if you pull it to the left, you get less oxidation, and if you push it to the right, you get more. So listen to what this does. I'll start it out with like a long haul. Short room. Man, this thing is a beast. Let's look at another drum loop, same kind of setting. Oh yeah, let's hear the before and the after. Telling you, this thing is so fast and easy to use, it's just ridiculous. Let me reset and boom, default, and let me check drum loop 2. Hear that buzz come out in the 808? Now if I want to make it heavier, levitate left. Was that like 15 seconds? Let's hear it on female vocals. This is the incomparable Danielle Stars.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars.
So the lull chain will just smooth out your vocals really nicely. It's going to take most of your dynamic range away, but it's going to make it still feel like it's dynamic. It's a real weird trick. But again, this is like a bunch of my other processes from like 4 or 5 different plugins that I've put underneath that little thing.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. As much as it seems like you on my heart, it's astronomy, we're 2 worlds apart. We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars.
You know, before I awaken it, it's a little bit dark, so I'm just going to levitate it to the right and thin it out a little bit. And basically what this does is if it's a little bit, like take a vocal that's a little bit too muddy and not quite bright enough, instead of reaching for an EQ and trying to carve the shit out of it, all you got to do is hit levitate and just move it to the right a little bit, and it takes a little bit of the bass off and adds a little bit of high.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. As much as it seems.
And then if you need like tippy top, you can just add the high end of Awaken.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars.
You don't really need mash on a vocal, but if it's really unruly, mash can help you just even it out that much more or just give you a bit of a sound.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars.
I mean, if you just want that vocal staying right in your face and not moving, mash will give that to you. But then let's hear oxidate on this.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. As much as it seems like you on my heart, it's astronomy, we're 2 worlds apart.
And then if you want to get super creative, you can put oxidate on pre, and then it puts the reverb in the signal chain before the vocal. So check this out.
We've traveled the seas, we've ridden the stars, we've seen everything from Saturn to Mars. As much as it seems like you on my heart, it's astronomy, we're 2 worlds apart. We've traveled.
This thing is a beast. Let's hear it on a dark piano. Let me get back to default. We crushed it with this shit. And the beauty of this is you don't need to know how to mix. The main knob does the bulk of the work, and if you have a basic understanding of what the LMAO section is supposed to do when you move the knobs, then you can really dial in virtually any sound source very, very quickly and super musically. I almost never really reach for EQs after these because I can just levitate and awaken and kind of pick my chain. Let's hear all the different chains with this piano. Nope, sorry. Oh yeah, we have filters. Man, this thing is just endless good. I had the filters. Haha. So that's kind of the way that I use it all the time is I'll dial in what I think is my best chain for whatever I'm picking. And then, you know, I'll just go through, and if I think Panda is the one, I'll just listen to Punch and Peacock and the LOL chain and see if any of them are even better than the one that I decided to cook up with first. And, you know, you just never know. So the choices are super easy. You see how fast and easy this shit is to dial in. All right, I'm going to show off the dragon chain now. Let's get back to default. Boom. Okay, dragon chain. Do you hear that? Oh, we build the best vibe boxes on planet Earth. Woof. Beast. Pit strings. So if you listen to the Jungkook Lotto 7 Nightfall remix, I mixed the Nightfall remix for Jungkook and Lotto. The main single went #1 this past week. Woo! Congratulations, Jungkook. So it's got a ton of pit strings, and I use LOLCOMP on all of the pit strings on that mix. You'll hear it in ear training. We're using 7 for ear training tonight. But listen, if you use punch chain, you let the initial transient go through a little bit and then you clamp down on it. Lull chain is kind of you clamp down right away on it. So the main chain will give you the majority of the control, and then you can tone shape from there. Crazy. So you can hear this is a little faster attack, faster release. This is a slower attack, faster release. And listen to the difference. This kind of holds it really even. Every note is the same, and the punch just lets the initial transient punch through. Telling you, I'm using this on everything. Bass lines, punch chain for me usually. Or Panda. Super fat bass line if you want more of the top end back on it. Super easy to use. The filter section is fantastic. And then last but not least, wrap vocals, which vocals I either go to lull chain or punch chain typically, unless I want a little bit of saturation on them, then I'll reach for Panda. Let's see what one is best here. Let's get back to default.
In place a bit, I had to switch up the pace a bit. Walking up to it, I'm facing it. The keys to my dreams getting laced this shit. Get that shit out of my face, you bitch. Way that you throwing a basic pitch. Swinging it ruthless, I babe this in place a bit. I had to switch up the pace a bit. Walking up to it, I'm facing it. The keys to my dreams getting laced this shit. Get that shit out of my face, you bitch. Way that you throwing a basic pitch. Swinging it ruthless, I babe this in place a bit. I had to switch up the pace a bit. Walking up to it, I'm facing it. The keys to my dreams getting laced this shit. Get that shit out of my face, you bitch. Way that you throwing a basic pitch. Swinging it ruthless, I babe this in place a bit. I had to switch up the pace a bit. Walking up to it, I'm facing it. The keys to my dreams getting laced this shit. Get that shit out of my face, you bitch. Way that you throwing a basic pitch. Swinging it ruthless, I babe this in place a bit. I had to switch up the pace a bit. Walking up to it, I'm facing it. The keys to my dreams getting laced this shit. Get that shit out of my...
So easy, so easy. So that's LOLCOMP top to bottom. Man, did we smash it with this one. So we're pre-selling tonight. Let me show you. Here's the pre-sale. If you go to mixingnightaudio.com, you can, how is it? Let me refresh. There we go. Pre-order now. Yes. So if you, it's going to retail for $149. We are letting it pre-sale until August 14th for $97. Man, that is so worth it. If you click the pre-order, what happens? Let me see. Boom. Right there. No, you don't need 3 of these. I mean, you can buy 3 of these. I would love you to pieces. But 1 is fine. There you go. And you check out. And then on August 14th, we'll send you your licenses. So that's how the pre-sale works. And on August 14th, if you want to... oh, crap. Did I just... No, I didn't. I did. if on August 14th, if you want to enter the Mixing Night LOLCOMP Mix Challenge, then what's basically... Sorry, I'm opening my other... Oh, God. Don't show the screen for a minute. I got to put these things back. Sorry. Pet or die. I will try not to close out of that again. Okay. So yeah, the LOLCOMP Mixing Challenge, you can put the banners up. Basically, LOLCOMP comes out August 14th. If you haven't bought it by August 14th, you can download a 14-day free trial. It is a fully functional free trial. You can put it through all of its paces. And if you're not blown away after 14 days, then I just don't know what's wrong with you. But anyway, you can download the free trial. We're going to serve up an Obscene Stealers multi-track, raw, unmixed multi-track. You can only use LOLCOMP and one equalizer to mix the whole thing. Trust me, I'm going to do it too, so I can show you it's possible. And then send us your results, and I'm going to listen to every submission. I haven't gotten prizes yet. Obviously, LOLCOMP is going to be a prize. Greenhouse is probably going to be a prize. But I'm going to try and get you guys some hardware or something so that it's a real throwdown with some really great hardware prizes. So stay tuned for that. It's coming. Let's see. Let me go to some Q&A. Pre-submitted questions. We have Devin. Devin asks, hey, Ken, how do you evoke emotion through mixing? Well, Devin, emotion through mixing it's really about forgetting about it's sprint mixing. It's about forgetting about the technology and listening to and interpreting what's coming through your speakers and just always asking yourself, what does this song need? And when you ask yourself, what does this song need? You might get an answer like, well, something's up with the bass. Like, do I need to just turn up the bass line? Do I need to just add some low end to the bass line? Maybe I need to fatten up the kick drum. Maybe the entire mix is a little bit too thin and I need to put a pull tech on the mix bus and lift the entire low end. And when you start thinking on those terms, okay, what does this mix need? Something's up with the bass. Then it takes you out of this, well, I've got to use a 4-to-1 compressor on the bass and I've got to grab this Amec equalizer and I've got to add this much 3 dB at 100 hertz. Man, my brain never, ever, ever goes there. I don't do math while I mix. All I do is listen to what's coming out of the speakers and react. And one of my favorite mixers on the planet, Michael Brower, I think he gave one of the best descriptions in that he mixes very fast. And he says it's not to get done quickly. Mixing is a performance. Mixing is, you're constantly just listening for feel. So the best way to describe it is don't listen technically, I guess. Honestly, LOLCOMP is great for that because that's the entire reason I designed LOLCOMP was just to take you out of your, oh, this is a EQ, this is a compressor, this is just tone shaping and you just get it sounding the way you want. Okay, Johnny Sparkman asks, hey Ken, I'm brand new to mixing audio. Welcome aboard, Johnny Sparkman. What are some of the main plugins that make a vocal track work with the beat and sound more like a radio song and less like vocals that are just recorded on top of music? I think I just did an entire explanation of all of that. But, like standard compressors, other than LOLCOMP, would be like Distressor is great on vocals. Kramer Pi is great on vocals. A lot of people use 1176s on vocals. I've never gravitated towards them. Any EQ will do. Most EQs can mimic other EQs. It's just really what you're most comfortable with and what you can reach for and not think about while you're using it. So learn your tools first and then learn your tools so well that you don't have to think while you're using them. And always listen and react to the music. You do not need a plugin on every channel. Most channels you don't need a plugin on. You only need plugins on channels when you hear something that you need to change. And that's it. Luke Rain asks, hey Ken, what are the best ways to add artificial stereo width without introducing unwanted phasing issues or artifacts? I'm going to show you in a bit, but that is called green HAAS. Green HAAS is the HAAS effect, but everybody thinks the HAAS effect is this one thing. The HAAS effect is not this one thing, and I have totally cracked the code on the HAAS effect. We do it differently than everybody else does it, and the watering can on green HAAS allows you to... Lay down, babe. Come on. Lay down, Max. Lay down. Good girl. All right, you're the star of the show. Nobody wants to see me. Everybody wants to see you. The watering can on green HAAS, as I will show you later, is a wet-dry knob. And as you leave a bunch of the signal dry, you've got the wet behind it, and you've got the dry keeping your signal coherent, and the wet spreading it out. It's yeah, we cracked the code on that one too. So that's how I do it. Jeremy Locke asks, hey Ken, can you show us Master Fader? I'll try and show that, Jeremy, when I'm pulling up this Pat XY song Candle, which I'm going to do in a couple minutes. Brilliant song, and I went nuts on the Master Fader. Richie Schwab asks, hey Ken, are you married to Barbie? No, but I did see the Barbie movie, and I gotta say, brilliant, fucking brilliant. I only went because my wife wanted to go, and I was like, you know, it's hyped, so I'll go check it out. Mark Ronson was the music soup for it, and he did a amazing job. But the Barbie movie is so much deeper than I ever thought it was going to be. Visually, it's stunning. The music soundtrack is bananas. Go see it. We haven't seen Oppenheimer yet, and I'm definitely seeing that in IMAX. Marcus Manderson asks, hey Ken, can you share what 5 analog chains LOLCOMP is modeled? I think I just did that. Okay. Marcus, I will be showing your segment later. And let's see, let me get one from the chat roll. Creation Roll Music asks, hey Ken, how loud is the input of your final submix track pre-insert? I don't really submix things. I just throw everything straight to the mix bus. I might submix like a group of background vocals into like 8 background vocals into a stereo aux, or, you know, something like that. But typically I run everything into the mix bus without submixing. I hate submixing. I think it handcuffs you and makes late decision making in the mix really difficult. Tiger Music asks, hey Ken, what are your go-to phase correction plugins? Man, when we were tuning the Atmos of this room, the Little Labs, what is that thing called? I can't remember. It's like a really, it does minute changes to phase and timing delays. It's made by Little Labs. I can't, hey you. Let's see, what else do we use? Timing corrections, or phase corrections. The S1, the Waves S1 plugin sometimes comes in handy. I can use that sometimes. But otherwise, I try and correct my phase a channel at a time, as it needs it, when it needs it. If you have drum tracks and you're like mixing a whole live drum kit, Auto Align and Auto Align 2 from Sound Radix are money. They are super, super great. They work like a charm. They really phase align all of your drum tracks however you want them aligned, and it can really pull your drum tracks into focus. By Simmer asks, hey Ken, how do you add spatial qualities to your vocal mix? I'm going to show you guys a ton of that later on, so stay tuned. Hey Ken, how do you get 3D sound in your mixes where it actually feels like it surrounds you? The next song I'm going to pull up, Candle, is that. Oh man, that Pat XY song is bananas. All right, I'm going to move on to what happened in July. Holy crap, other than me getting deathly ill for like 8 days and being miserable and dropping 9 pounds. Obscene Steelers, Grizzly Adam, Young Man comes out August 18th. Please stream it once you see me posting it up on our socials. We collaborated on this song. Man, it is, I love that song. we're super excited about it. Hopefully it's going to do real well for us. In September, I'm going to be at the AES Latin America show in Quito, Ecuador, my favorite country other than America on Earth. So if you're at AES Latin America in Quito in September, look me up. I will be doing clinics and talks and everything else in English. Hopefully they'll have a translator. My Spanish is muy malo. I've consistently had 2 records in the top 10, Taylor Swift Midnights and Taylor Swift Lover, for the entire Eras tour. Thank you so much, Taylor. At one point a few months ago, I had 3 albums in the top 10, which has never happened. No, it's happened to me one other time in my career, and that was August D, Suga from BTS, and then the 2 Taylor albums. And I just mixed a remix of 7 by Jungkook featuring Lotto. I mixed the 7 Nightfall remix. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Music, and I'm going to use it for ear training later. Jungkook, the single debuted #1. Congrats, Jungkook and Lotto. Woo! Big one to get on. I was super happy to get that call. Avatar, The Way of Water. So Michael Moss and Sylvia Navarro wrote and produced a song called I Feel the Rush, and that song was used on the behind the scenes extra content. So I get to be a tiny little piece of the Avatar universe, which is fucking mind-blowing to me. I just love Avatar. Suga August D, he's about to go on tour, and holy cow, his album D-Day, which I mixed 2 songs on, Polar Night and is the first rapper in history with over 1 million first day album sales. The first rapper in history. 1 million pre-sold. Holy wow. Like, nobody buys units anymore, but the Asian continent still does. And enough like fans in America and around the world. It's like, when Taylor dropped Midnights, she dropped 4 different vinyls. Of course, I bought all 4 of the vinyls, and I'm sure, the BTS marketing engine is utterly fantastic. Let's see, did I miss anything else? No, I think that about covers it. So I had a hell of a July, except for being sick for 8 days. Let's see. Well, it happens. All right, I'm going to this Pat XY song, Candle. You can find Pat XY. So his Instagram is Pat_or_die, Pat or die, on IG, and his Spotify is Pat XY. So follow him on Spotify. If you want to know how you can best help independent artists that you like, this is huge. Follow them. When you listen to a song, listen to it all the way through, and then put a heart on it when it's near the end of the song. That is the #1 algorithmic thing that you can get. And if you follow them, like, those 2 things alone really help independent artists in their algorithms. So please support Pat XY. This song is not out yet, Candle, but Pat let me use it for the show tonight because when he sent me his album to mix, it really inspired Stereo-izing Night, because almost every song of his has 2 lead vocal tracks, like 2 dedicated lead vocal tracks. And then almost all of the music was delivered to me as mono stems. Each piece of music, each guitar and key and string and effect was all mono. So I said, okay, I'm going to try a mix approach where I pan the lead vocal hard left and hard right, and then I fill in everything else with the music. And I just wanted to create this big lush wash of sound. So let me play you a little bit of Candle, and I think I can, I can A-B between, here we go. So I'm gonna start with the rough mix, which is not my mix, and then I'm gonna switch. So when you hear a super drastic change, that is my mix. Here's the rough.
Stay awake into the night, where all my feelings seem to hide. There's nothing left, I lost the key. Oh, how I wish that you could see. I wonder if I
So you can really hear just the wide stereo, lush wash of sound that I put on this record. And I'm going to go through one by one everything that I did. One of the first keys was that I listened to both the lead vocals, and I determined that lead vocal 2 was just slightly better performed when I listened to it by itself against the music. So then I took vocal line. Let me launch vocal line here. Where is it? Boom. I took vocal line, and here's what you do with vocal line. So I'm going to get rid of all of these breaths in between. The song is so dense that you don't really need the breaths in between. Sometimes if you remove the breaths out of a song, it kills the vibe. Totally kills the vibe. Not in this case. And so let me just show you how I vocal lined this real quick, and then we'll switch to it. So, and the reason I vocal lined it is because when they were left to their own devices, there was just a little bit too much push-pull. It would pull left, and then it would pull right, and it would pull left, depending on, you know, which one was timing different. And I was like, okay, I need to get these two working as a stereo pair. So vocal line, here's my main, and I'm gonna boom, Revoice Pro, same thing. Capture, that captures my guide. Now this captures what I want to correct, and then all you gotta do is hit spot, and then vocal 1 snaps exactly to vocal 2, and that's what I did here. So I'm just gonna go back to my already dialed in final vocal. But that's what I did first. Before I did any other mixing, I just auto aligned all of the lead vocals top to bottom. You can see when it says RVAPT, that's Revoice APT. So that tightens up left, right, and then I just panned it hard left and right. And then let me show you what I did. Where is it? Here's the lead vocal. You can see it's panned hard left and right. And I bust these two into aux 7 right here. I'll take off the effects, and I will take off the stereo-izing. So here's dry lead vocal.
I stay awake into the night, where all my feelings seem to hide. There's nothing left, I lost the key. Oh, how I wish that you could see. I wonder if I'll ever.
These things are being unruly. But so dry and hard left and right, it was just too stark in the mix. Here it is in the full mix. So I put DIM-D across them. DIM-D is a UAD plugin that models the Roland Dimension D, which is like the best chorus box ever made on Outboard. And I just selected mode, is it mode 1 or mode 1 and 2? I can't really tell which one I have. And listen to what this thing does. It just takes those, best to just hear it.
I stay awake into the night, where all my feelings seem to hide. There's nothing left, I lost the key. Oh.
See how it still feels wide, but it's just, it gels together in this way that like nothing else does. And then I added Verb Suite Classics. This is a stock setting. This is, if you go to FG 480 Halls Large Church, this is the stock setting on Large Church. This is my setting for like dreamy vocals and especially like dreamy guitars. If you want just this beautiful dark reverb that just carries through your mix and will take like a dry picked guitar and just make it sound gigantic, this is the one. And then the other effect that I used is green HAAS on an aux send. And the way that I did that was This is all the way wet, so I'm not feeding any dry through it. That's how I can use it on the aux. It's got to be all the way wet if you're going to use it on an aux. And I set it to the left side, the longest delay time, and the right side, the second longest delay time. And then I put tulip modulation on it, which is a pretty nice modulator. And this is what I got.
I stay awake into the night where all my feelings seem.
So this is like almost like a stereo slap delay, the way that I have this set up now. So if you have Greenhouse, take down this setting.
I stay awake into the night where all my feelings seem to hide. There's nothing left, I lost the key.
So that's what Greenhouse is doing, and then this is only the Verb Suite Classic.
I stay awake into the night.
You hear that just carry into the distance.
I stay awake into the night where all my feelings seem to hide.
All right, what other goodies can I show you on this? All right, a couple other gems on this record. The snare. Oh, and so this is my final mix that I did for Pat XY long before I had any intention of using this song for the show. And just so you know, I'm not bullshitting you when I tell you LOLCOMP has replaced most of my other plugins. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, where is it? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 instances, 21, 22, 23, 23 instances of LOLCOMP on this entire mix. That's how much it replaces virtually everything else. It's really just the easiest thing in the world to use. And if you see, I've got the SSL channels. I start my mix with a blank SSL on every channel, so most of these SSLs aren't doing anything. So if you're a young mixer and you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, I need to plug in on every channel. No, most of the SSLs are doing nothing. They're only there for convenience so that I can pull up an EQ really quickly and tweak it if I want to. Everything else other than the SSL gets added during the mix. So let me go to the snare, which I spread out with LOLCOMP. Here's the raw snare. So sometimes I just use a standard reverb to spread things out. The other times, what's some of the best? Oh, guitar 1 is beautiful. Here's guitar 1. So I'm thinning it out with LOLCOMP and putting it on top of the other guitars, and then I'm really spreading it out with Greenhouse. And again, the previous question, how do you keep things in phase? The dry wet keeps it in phase. So I've got it about 40% wet, and the 60% dry is keeping my phase coherency right in the middle, and then I'm putting behind it all of the HAAS effect. And the way LOLCOMP, or the way Greenhouse works, is all 6 of these are different delay settings from short to long, and these are 6 other delay settings from short to long. They're all different on each side. So every position on this is a different version of the HAAS effect. So that's how that one's working. Let me show you the Bob solo. Who here uses Neural DSP guitar amps, which I think sound amazing? Here's us. So I'm darkening it up a little bit with this. I'm driving it into an amp a little bit, but the spreading is all this chorus, delay, and reverb down here. So it's a little bit of the stomp pedals in the Tone King. This is the Neural DSP Tone King. And then I'm putting this stereo tap delay on it. Boom, H delay. And I've got an 1/8 note tap going left and right. I've got it really dark so that the taps don't get in the way of the main sound. And rolling off a little bit of the sub. Nothing's down there. And I'm darkening it down to about 1.5K. Yep. Let's see. What do I got next? The Hornsby piano is really dope. Let me show you that. Here it is. Again, keeping that coherency in the center and just spreading it out a little bit. It just gets it off the vocal a little bit. It lets it hug the vocal instead of just mashing into the vocal. And almost everything that well, there's no vocal in the center, so this one is not so such a big deal. But if I was spreading it out all the way left and right, it would be getting a little bit in the way of the lead vocal, so I'm not trying to do that. Let's see. You know, another trick on this mix is look at all my background vocals. Here is the main gist of my backgrounds, and they're dry, mono left and right, and they're pulled in. You just see here.
Fall ever, love again.
I don't have any effect on them. They're bone dry in the mix, and so the lead vocals are panned hard left and right, and then you pull in the background vocals and you tuck them inside of the lead vocals. Leave them dry, and you get this completely different perspective between the lead vocal and the backing vocals, and it just gives you different depths in the mix, but these sound wet in the mix. Listen.
Fall ever, love again. I tried so hard and gave up everything, and after all this...
Basically what it's doing is the reverb from the lead vocals makes it sound like there's reverb on the backing vocals. So that's what's going on. And let me show you, the wine synth. Where is the wine synth? One more, here we go. So this is dry. So this is Rotary by UVI. I love this thing. It's not only for organs. I use it to spread out a whole bunch of different stuff, usually vibe stuff. Every now and then vocals sound really incredible through this thing, but mostly I'll use it for like secondary pads and secondary sounds and stuff like that. And this is how I mix a lot. I'll grab the plugin that I know that I want, or I think that I want for vibe, and then often I'll just start scrolling presets until something gets either on it or really close, and then I just tweak and dial in a little bit from there. And you know, there's no magic to it. I'm just always asking myself, what does this sound need? What does this song need? What does this part need? And a lot of times this part doesn't need anything. This part needs to be set in the right place and left alone. Or, you know, it could be, well, it needs to be thinned out and spread out and with a ton of reverb. And, you know, you always just ask yourself how you want that thing to sound in the mix. All right, so that is Pat XY Candle. I think this album comes out next month. But go ahead and follow Pat XY on Spotify, and then it will alert you when his new album is out. And you can check it out. So every song like this is just these super lush, beautiful kind of indie rock vibes that he's got going on. And he's got Pat or Die on Instagram. So Thank you, Pat, for allowing me to use that song tonight. I really dig it. Boom, boom, boom. Come on. And get rid of Revoice Pro. I'm way behind on time, but I'll make it up. Okay, let's just go to ear training. All right. Where's ear training? You know, I'm just going to skip ear training tonight. I'm way over time. So I feel like ear training is not the most important thing tonight. But if you guys disagree, hit me on the chat roll and let me know, and I will fire up ear training for you. I'm going to go to, actually, I just want to talk a minute about my new speakers, which are these Dutch and Dutch 8Cs. So Dutch and Dutch, I got these I've had them about 3 weeks now. So I've done maybe 8 or 10 mixes on them. I've mastered a few songs. I mastered 2 Skrizzly songs on them. I mix to mastered. So whenever I mix, when I deliver a final mix to a client, it's mastered. Now, once the client approves it, then I will provide them an uncompressed mix and my finished mix, which is fully mastered. And the only difference between the full mix and the uncompressed is I'll remove my last limiter stages. Mazzy, hey, Maz, come lay down, babe. You're the star of the show. Come on, lay down. Good girl. Lay down, babe. Oh, yes, you're a good girl. So, what was I even saying? I don't remember. Oh yeah, so Dutch and Dutch. So I've been really dialing my ears into these. It took us, so these things look like pretty innocuous, but on the back of each of these speakers, there are 2 8-inch subs pointing straight out the back of it. And so you've got basically an 8-inch woofer and 2 8-inch subs built in. And then you've got this high frequency tweeter mass, which is pretty amazing. And so I've got to say, the clearest, most detailed speakers I've ever mixed on. The imaging from left to right is just, I can place anything and just hear it move across the whole stereo field. It took us about a day to really dial them into this room. We really had to move them around the room until we found where it felt like they were the most even. And then they have their own correction software in them. And it took, you know, a while to kind of get all of the correction settings done. We went through it. Actually, Dutch and Dutch got on the phone with us. They were really fantastic and made sure that the speakers were doing what they were supposed to be doing and all of that stuff. So thank you, Dutch and Dutch. Man, these things are just and they're loud as fuck. So I never get them that loud. That's with me. Like, I'm 53 years old. I have 0 tinnitus. I've been working in the music industry for 30 years, and I protect my hearing like these things are gold-plated, platinum, diamond, you know, career makers. And so I listen at, you know, low to moderate volume when I mix, and then once every so often I just turn up get the fucking bump happening. And, you know, make sure that the low end is going to sit right in the clubs. And then it's right back down to normal listening level. And so I really don't tax my ears at all. These things are super easy on my ears. They don't fatigue me at all. I've done 14-hour days on them, and they're just fine. But I'm really protective of my ears. So I want really great monitoring, and I want to be able to listen at low to mid volume without pushing my ears. So that I can continue to work for hopefully the next 30 years. We'll see about that. So I'm going to go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, and then I'm going to get you some more awesome Stereo-izing DAW gems. I'm going to check the chat roll and see if anybody's super pissed off that I'm ditching ear training, or if you're just like, no, we want to see more DAW shit. That's really what it's going to be. It's going to be either more DAW or ear training. So I figured you guys want to see like all the cool plugins. So without further ado, let's go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery with free and cheap plugins.
What's good, everyone? This is Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment. In this Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment, we're going to talk all about stereo with plugins because this is a Stereo-izer episode. And at the end of this segment, we're going to share a really cool AI thing that you might find cool. But let's get into it. Let's start with some low-cost plugins that you can use to add stereo with, and then we'll talk about the free stuff. Stereo Savage 2, $29 on Plugin Boutique. That is a Plugin Boutique library, Plugin Boutique sound Stereo Savage plugin there. We have Pana Stereo With by Clevgrand, $39.99, so just under $40. We have Spread by our friend DJ Swivel, which is $39, Stereo With plugin. And you can go to these links that we'll include in the Discord and check out these plugins. BX Stereo Maker, which is $40 from Brainworks. We have Animate Grow from our friends at Mastering the Mix, $15 there. Then we have Microshift from our friends at Sound Toys, $29. And then we have Finalizer from our friends over at Noise Ash, which is $29.90, I guess, or $99, currently on sale at the time of this recording. Now, let's get into some of the free stuff you can use with Knob by Boz Digital Labs, again, to add some stereo with. There on Plugin Boutique, we have Wider 2.0 from Polyverse, another free one. We have A1 Audio by Alex Hilton, another free one. Flux Tool, I believe this is version 2 or 3. I think they're on version 3 now. Version 3. Stereo Tool from Flux, another Stereo-izer. Cable Guys has Pancake 2, a free plugin. Ozone from Isotope, they have version 2 Ozone Imager. They have version 2 out now. Vocal Doubler, this is great for doubling your vocals, but you can use it on other sounds too, as long as you have the plugin as the first insert in your plugin chain. So you can use that to add some stereo with. And last but not least, not free, but there is a free trial. And of course, my personal favorite, totally unbiased opinion here. This is Green HAAS from Mixing Night Audio, $49. You can get a, I believe, 2-week trial. I might be wrong. Forgive me, Mixing Night Audio family. But you can get a trial there for the Green HAAS Start free trial. There you go, 2-week trial, 14 days. Now, the special AI thing, totally not related to stereo with, but I found this today and I'm going to share it in this video. Text to Sample from Sample Lab. What is this? You download this to your computer and you open this plugin. I'm going to open it up here. And I was doing some tests earlier, but let's say you were looking for a pop beat. You just type it in, type in the text you're looking for, give your computer a few seconds. And if you remember, a couple months ago, we had an incredible AI episode. This was not out then. I believe this just came out recently within the last week, and you can adjust how long the result is. I'm going to play this result. I put in pop beat. Not bad. Sounds a little bit more hip hop. You hear some glitches in there, but you can extend it if you want, or you can drag and export it to, I believe, audio, and you can import it into your DAW. You can go all the way up to 20 seconds, or you can go down to like 3 or 1 second. Let's try another example here. This is incredible. It might not be good now, but again, this is only getting better. So let's do rap beat, and I'm going to do generate. And there was a context field there. I don't know all the ins and outs of this plugin, but I wanted to share it with you. And again, I will include a link to this in the Discord group as well. So, and it is free. So this is a rap beat. Let's see how it sounds. Let's try one more and then we will end this segment, but this is great. Let's try a R&B beat. Again, sounds kind of weird, but it can give you some inspiration. Again, with context here, you can find more about what these things do, how far the model looks into the look back while generating. Again, you can go to the website to get some questions answered. You have to pay for it. Know what sounds are they using? Are they licensed? How are they using the modeling? Again, you can see the license information there. But it also can be a great way to generate ideas from one shot you have, or just to type in text to sample if you have a free moment you just want to dive in. So that is some free and paid stereo with plugins you can use, and one bonus AI plugin that just came out, as far as I know, recently over the last week or two. So definitely check that out. Again, this has been Marcus Manderson with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment. Be safe and be well, everyone. All right. Peace.
Welcome back. Thank you, Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery. You always bring the best segments. All right. Before I go to DAW Gems Part 2, I am going to answer a couple questions from the chat roll. If you're on the chat roll, fire away. I got people feeding them to me. Ben Kruger asks, hey, Ken, what is your process for bouncing stems for sync? Is it as simple as bouncing instrument groups and stems through the master bus? Yeah, pretty much. So sync, you don't want to give them too many choices. You want to give them enough flexibility. So lead vocals, background vocals, and then break up the music. It really can be like all drums, 808, synthesizers, guitars, strings, I usually 8 to 12 stems for sync is totally plenty. You can do a little bit more. If it's not a complicated song, you can do less. It's not that big. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah. But I print stems for labels after I mix completely differently than I print licensing stems. I print 2 different sets of stems. All right. Bill Spurl asks, "Hey Bill, how's your class doing? Are you still out for the summer, or do you have a summer class?" Anyway, Bill Spurl asks, "Hey Ken, can you do a segment in the future on copyrights and licensing beats and getting placements?" I can, but I can also tell you that it's damn near impossible to place beats with anybody that you'd actually want to rap over your beats. So the real key there is start small, start in your own town or your own city, grow your following in your own city, gain some experience, get better at making beats. If you think you're good now, you're probably not that good. You might be fire, I don't know, but chances are you've got some growing to do before you can really get on to a national level. And then there's lower level sites like I think BeatStars that you can license beats through and stuff like that. But you can copyright your beats through Library of Congress. I think you can do it right online. But I'll try and address that in the future. Hyrule Dude asks, "Hey Ken, do you use any hardware anymore?" Yes, and I'm trying to get back to using more. I think I'm going to try and get one of those flock patch bays. And tie all of my analog outboard back into it. But the thing that you also got to remember is anytime I'm recording, I am going through the highest quality microphones and highest quality outboard gear. So I'm capturing really, really great sound source. And that's super important. I would love to get back to using, I can't use it immediately right now, but like my Manley Varimu outboard is a killer. My Soundtech mastering EQ is a killer. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I really like to use on outboard. Let's see. Okay. And Music Mark asks, "Hey Ken, what's the best way to make a single main vocal sound very wide and robotic?" Ooh, and robotic. Well, let me see if I can. Here's a trick that I was going to hold off on for a while, but I can show you this right now. So, let's listen to Scrizzly Adams' Too Close to Fire. Really key in on the dry guitar and the dry lead vocal. That's what we're keying in on because I'm going to spread those things out with all types of different plugins.
Maybe the way that you move me just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you...
Now, if you hear every now and then you hear vocal, the auto-tune pulling really hard, that's because when I comped this vocal, I only took certain moments and I put them super tuned, through auto-tune. And that gives you this just momentary like grabbing and stretching like the T-Pain effect, but it doesn't run through the whole time, so you don't get tired of it. And then it becomes like this really cool moment.
Just shakes me alive, I say.
That lava, that's super auto-tune grabbing that. Okay, and then you asked, how do you spread that out? And how do you make it sound robotic? The robotic is an interesting one. I have one of the fun effects that I have dialed up is Waves Morphoder, and this is super easy to use compared to virtually any other vocoder. So I usually start with the preset major tom or minor organic, and then I usually start with the chord of the song that I'm putting in. So I think this song is in A flat major, I believe. So listen to what this does. I'm going to go to the wet vocal and which one? 25 and 26. This is the lead vocal with the vocoder.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes.
And then you can change these notes. So usually what I do, I'll do this on another mixing night, and I think I've shown it before. I usually set up 4 or 5 different vocoder tracks on 4 or 5 different auxes, and then I'll set a different chord on each morphoder, and then I will automate which vocal line goes into which morphoder, depending on what the chord structure of the song underneath is. So you'll hear the vocal feeding into the chords of the song, but with this robotic kind of vocoder effect, and it changes with the chords. It's hard to set up, but man, it's so effective.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so you
can set up any of those chords. Okay, so that's the one robotic approach. Let me go back and show you a bunch of different techniques that I use to stereo-ize a monovocal and make it a lot more interesting. And the first one is back to neural DSP. This is Archetype Pliny. My friend Paul Truss told me about this amp, and I love it.
just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want
Talk about vibe.
just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong.
So I'm oversampling high. I back the input. This is the key. I back the input way off because the harder you drive a guitar amp, the more distortion you have. Let me show you what 0 sounds like.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat.
It gets too saturated. So I dial the input way back, and then I'm adding a stereo delay, which is set super, super tight. And it's basically a super tight ping pong half wet.
Just shakes me alive, I say.
That's all wet.
Well, maybe the heat
And none.
got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is.
And then I've got just a little bit of reverb. It's almost dry, and it's a pretty small space and a pretty short timing. And it just adds a little bit of depth in the mix. You don't really hear it as reverb. You just hear it as space.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat.
So that's one stereo spreading effect. Let me hear that in the whole mix.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want.
So that's one way that I spread things out. Here's a super simple way, BX Stereo Maker.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough.
And really, this is your stereo-izer right here. So this is mono, and you're feeding it wider. And it must be just doing some sort of phase incoherency delay on each side to spread it out.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings.
Who uses Murder Melodies from Slate? Man, I've been using this quite a bit lately. The ones that I have, what do I have dialed in here? I'll show you.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so you just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat.
You see this gives a little motion back and forth, so I just give it a touch of motion. It's still mostly going to be anchored in the center. The spread spreads it out nicely. Dimension gives it a little bit of depth.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get.
And all these other things just give you different vibes and different flavors, but the spreading elements are really these two right here. And then, man, here's going to be a mind blower for you. This is Reflection Engine from UAD. And reflections are basically like the first reflection off the wall to you. So they're going to be real short and tight, but listen to how well this spreads it out. I've got the depth set at 50%. So you're hearing 50% dry and 50% reverb reflection.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. It's hard to fly with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe, just feels so old, but you're not.
And everything I'm doing on these vocals, I'll use it on hi-hats and on guitars, and it's all to taste. But Reflection Engine is a real beast. And if you use this on an aux, then you just set the mix all the way to 100% on the aux and adjust these to taste. This is pretty standard for my use it as a spreader. And it doesn't sound like reverb. It sounds like dense reflections coming back at you, which, yeah, you can hear with the 100%. So that's what's adding. It's like this tight, short, bright reverb that's just really spread out right behind the lead vocal.
Shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat.
And then we have Thoris from UVI, really cool chorusing plugin.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes. But
I actually like using fewer voices on this, and my mix is at like 45, so it's a lot of dry and a bit of wet, the chorus on the sides. And real slow chorusing speed. I find the fewer voices, sometimes you hear more of the effect. Let's see. And then I can show you the effects that I have set up on auxes that I feed into. Let's start with the H3000 right here. H3000. So this is like a really short, tight spreader, super similar to how I used Green HAAS on the Candle mix on an aux. Where I basically had it 100% wet and the longer delays, and it basically sounds like a stereo slap. This is a very similar thing.
just shakes me alive, I say. Maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough.
And if anybody sees the setting that I have up here, it's Down on Me 50 Cent lead vocal. So if you listen to the Jeremiah 50 Cent Down on Me single that I mixed, and you listen to 50's vocals, you will hear this exact effect on his leads tastefully. It's not, you know, it's not super noticeable, but it's spreading him out a little bit. So that's the H3000. And you can just take a look at my settings and mimic them. And, you know, if you need them, just reach out and ask. I'll give them to you. The next one, Verb Suite Classics. So I have a really short, tight stereo room set up in here. It's much longer than the Reflection Engine is. But this is just like one of those add a little bit of depth.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe, just feels so old. But you're not the one to just do what you're told, so.
Next we got the Morphoder. I showed you that. Another short, tight room, this BX MS room. And I like this because you can stereo widen it even further.
Just shakes me alive, I say. Well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want is best left alone. But it's hard to fly by with some wings that got holes, but everything's safe.
So it's kind of a verb, but it just gives you a different flavor. Now I've got the reverb time. You see I've got it dialed way short, about a medium room size, and then the room shape is almost all the way up.
just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get.
So for imaging and depth, you can see over and over, I'm using short, tight reverbs to just add a little bit of depth and a little bit of spacing. And the last but not least, greenhouse. So here is greenhouse. Let me go from.
Just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you want.
Now here is one of the secrets to the effect that I'm currently using. You see, I've got it on an aux, so the watering can is all the way wet, and I've got it on 2 of the longer settings, but then I'm rolling off both low and high before it gets to the delay section, and then post-delay, I'm rolling off the high end on the delay as well. And then I went through the modulators and picked what modulator I felt sounded best on this.
Just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe the heat got too strong, but you can't get enough because all that you.
Hear how it just sounds like a stereo slap, but it's like a really nice stereo slap.
Just shakes me alive. I say, well, maybe.
All right, so let me switch to guitar and show you guys a few other cool things.
Just shakes me alive.
Yeah, it would help if I used the affected one. And the buttons tend to go from less severe to more severe. And let's see what else. Kaleidoscopes. This is from Waves. I actually really like this one. I just scroll presets on kaleidoscopes until I hear like, oh, that shit is dope. And you hear it. You've got mix buttons here and here. If it's too drastic, you can back it off. Again, kaleidoscopes is like a scroll presets until you find something cool. And if you don't, then ditch kaleidoscopes and try something else. Here's another approach from Sound Toys, Effects Rack. So I'm just going to start these dry. First one is a micro pitch shift, which is classic. Typically, I usually land on about 30 to 45 on the mix when I'm using micro pitch shift. You know, you just want to give it a little bit of motion, a little bit of spread, but you don't want to totally overdo it with micro pitch shift. And then I go into a real short ping pong 30-second note slap delay. And you hear how this just adds a little bit of depth to it. And here's without the micro pitch shift. So it's a delay, it's a ping pong, but it's doing not what you would expect from a ping pong delay. And then one of my other favorite spreaders, this Spaced Out by Baby Audio, is this is it's a reverb and a delay, and it's it really creates nice dimension. All right. So that's most of what I got for the cook-up for these. Let me see if I got any questions now. Putting together orchestras and choirs. All right, I'll answer some of these questions. Keys Collab asks, "Hey Ken, do you record and mix your kick drum and bass guitar in stereo or mono?" Well, if they come to me in stereo, I tend to leave them in stereo. If they come to me in mono, I'll tend to leave them in mono unless I feel like there's good reason to spread them out. Sometimes like a stereo chorus on the bass is really nice. Sometimes a little bit of like short reverb on a kick can give it a little bit of space and put it in the same room with the rest of the drums. But for the most part, if they come to me as mono, then they're probably staying right in the middle and they're going to work together, and I'm just going to work them until they go. But a lot of times you get kick drums that are already spread out in stereo. And if that's the case, and that's what the producer or the artist picked, then hey, that's what they love. That's what I'm going to mix. Let's see. Do you change your input? Let's see. Hans Groover asks, "Hey Ken, do you change your input chain depending on if a singer is quiet whisper type singing or louder chest type singing? How would you choose for a soft throaty voice or a loud booming voice?" So I have a good sense of the song that I'm recording before the vocalist walks in. So I've listened to the demo. I know the range of it. I know if they're going to be singing super soft or super loud. And in fact, here's a great example. Live of Vera Lightning. Who is a Live fan? So me and Brent got called to co-produce this song last year. One of the best calls in my whole career. Anybody who knows the original version of Lightning Crashes from Live from the 90s, it was one of the biggest songs of the entire decade. And they redid the song with Vera, who's a DJ from Armada. And I was brought in to basically produce the lead vocals from scratch. So all the vocals on it are brand new. And then mix it, and I mixed it in stereo and Atmos. And when we recorded this vocal, throughout the song, let me just play it. Can you guys hear that? Okay, I'm not going to play it, but so this goes from a whisper to belting loud. And I wanted Ed Kowalczyk to be able to be behind the microphone and perform the entire song without a second thought of having to work the microphone or anything. So what I did was I set up my C800G, and right next to it with the capsules dead even, I set up Elam 251. And the 251 got the soft, whispery vocals, and anytime he was belting, then that was the C800G. And I set up the vocal chain just when I set up a vocal. Jonathan can attest to this. I've taught him these tricks. I will set up on an input. I don't commit the plugins. I only listen through them as I'm recording. I'll set up a compressor and a limiter, and I will make the dynamic range like this small between a whisper and a scream. So if they're whispering or if they're fucking screaming, it is exactly the same volume in their headphones. It never changes. So I can pick one microphone to let them hear the entire time that has that chain set up. That doesn't affect the actual recording. Meanwhile, the entire time, the recording is capturing, the Elam is capturing the quiet stuff, and the C800 is capturing the belting, and then I can mix and match in the mix, and while I'm comping, and know that I have caught the best version of each of those ranges dialed in. And I think I took the C800 and I super compressed that just with plugins in his headphones so that his dynamic range never changed. And he had the best 2 days of vocals. He was absolutely thrilled. I was thrilled. I think we got incredible results. So many people that have listened to this told me they thought that they just sampled the original vocal and sped it up, which is, amen, that I did my job. So My job was to make it feel like you were listening to the original. And boy, that was a trick because we went from like 82 BPM to 118 BPM. And it was impossible to stretch it from the original, and we had to recut it. But Ed came into the studio and just crushed it, man. He sounded amazing. Let's see. Bill Spurl asks, hey, Ken, what is your reasoning for using an effect as an insert versus a send effect through a bus? It's really spur of the moment. You know, a lot of modulation effects I tend to use on insert. And any kind of ambient effects I tend to use on auxes, but I just ask myself in the moment, what am I trying to do and how best can I accomplish this? And if the answer is, well, this would be really cool on insert and then I can just adjust a wet dry, then it's going to go on an insert. And I've got enough DSP on my computer that I can load this thing with a shit ton of plugins and it's not going to choke. So if you're really limited on DSP, then maybe you want to set up that effect on an aux so that you can feed multiple things into that same one effect instead of using like 5 instances of DIM-D or 5 instances of Green HAAS or anything like that. Speaking of which, Green HAAS is super DSP light, so you could use 20 of them, 50 of them, and your system won't even blink. Okay, Dom asks, hey Ken, what is your thought process on why you would stereoize an element at all? Other than percussion, I would stereoize percussion too. It's all vibe. So like the Candle mix from Pat XY, he gave me those 2 doubled lead vocal, and as I started mixing, I was like, I wonder what it would sound like if instead of doing like 1 dominant lead vocal and 1 tucked underneath in the center. And letting it drive as a monovocal, how would it sound if I spread them out and aligned them so that the 2 performances felt like one single performance in the song? And that was the first aha moment that I had on his record. And then I just got the vision. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it so that the lead vocals are the widest thing and everything else is placed within the rest of the stereo field. And that was just a gut check in the moment decision. And every single mix is a gut check in the moment decision. There are no right decisions. There are no wrong decisions. There's only the decision that you make that you like or don't like, keep or don't keep. And, you know, it's just, does this make it better or does this make it worse? I don't know. You got to listen and you got to, you know, that's one thing experience will teach you. The more that you mix, the more that you get confident and comfortable in hearing what it will sound like before you get it there. And that's what I can do very easily. I can listen to a mono sound source and I can go, oh, okay, this one would sound great if I thinned it out and brightened it up and put a short reverb on it and put a tap delay on it. And okay, here we go. And then boom, 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 boom. And then I get to listen a minute later and I go, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted. This is, maybe I want it a little wider. So maybe I'll add something else to spread it out a little bit more. It's always decisions in the moment. You just never know. I'm going to come back to this and show you the HAAS effect. But right now, I want to put a big spotlight on GFM Studios. These guys bought my SSL mixing console. And I mean, it broke my heart to let the thing go, but I'm heavy into Atmos mixing now, which I absolutely love doing. And it's just harder to mix Atmos on an analog console. And so I decided to get rid of the analog console, use that money to buy speakers with. And it worked out great for both of us. So check out GFM Studios. And if you're in Kansas City, I think you know where to go. Roll it.
Hey Ken, thank you for having us on Mixing Night, man. What's up? This is Brian Kramer.
And I'm Nick Aguero.
From GFM Recording Studios in KC. We have a console, man, that you might be familiar with. Thank you for it. It is awesome. We're learning a lot with it. We've been a production and mixing team for 7 years now. And we've done a lot in the box. We've done a lot to try to get that, you know, that sound, that console sound everyone chases, you know, but just haven't achieved it. But this, awesome, man.
Yeah, Ken, it's been a real journey with this thing. We've been wanting a console for a long time, but it always seemed out of our reach. And recently you gave us an opportunity to own a console, and it's mind-blowing what this thing can do. It's taught us so much and has really helped us with our balances. It's taught us about the hybrid workflow. We read a lot about it, but we never experienced it. And it's taught us a whole lot of how you can work inside of Pro Tools and with the console and achieve great results. It's been a real journey. Thank you for all of your help with the setup and everything moving forward.
It's pretty awesome, man. I mean, as far as getting everything to a point to where you can get the music feeling rather than looking, you know, on the computer or something. It's just a different feeling. I mean, as you said, when we came and picked it up, you know, it's just a different perspective. And truly, for me personally, awesome, man. It's like an instrument to me. So I enjoy it very much. I know my brother does too.
Yeah. We can't wait to see what this thing brings as far as sound, as far as growth, as far as business. And again, as always, Ken, if you ever want to use
open
this thing,
invitation,
you're always
man.
welcome here, man. Thanks again for everything, Ken. Peace out, Mixing Night.
Peace out.
Welcome back. I'm Ken Lewis. You have found Mixing Night. We are in the home stretch. I am going to show you, to round out the program, the HAAS effect. Now, everybody thinks about the HAAS effect, at least I think most people think of the HAAS effect as this one static thing. And you put a delay on one side and you're dry on the other side, and it just spreads things out. That's the HAAS effect, but it's not how I use the HAAS effect, and it's not how I built GreenHAAS. So let me show you the basics of the HAAS effect first. I'm using a stock plugin here. So first, let me play you the sound that we're going to use, which is this real grungy guitar sound. So dead center, mono, nothing else to it. So I am going to start the HAAS effect on this with the left side at no delay and the right side at only 4 milliseconds. I think about 4 milliseconds is the lower limit for anything that you actually get that feels like HAAS. And I'm going to just 1 millisecond at a time bump up only the right side so that you can hear how much 1 millisecond affects each tick is going to be a different flavor of the HAAS effect. Listen. Hear it change every millisecond? Once you're getting to about 25, 30 milliseconds, it starts almost feeling like a slap. So that's the super basics of the HAAS effect. And you can do the exact same thing, leave the right side at 0 and only affect the left side. And one thing you'll notice is, depending on which side you add the delay to, it's going to pull your stereo image a little bit that way or a little bit that way. And that always bothered me about the HAAS effect. So what I did with GreenHAAS was, I said, okay, here, let me just show you what So this is a static HAAS effect. I've got the amp turned off and I've got the modulation turned off. And I've just got 2 settings on this. The wet dry is fully wet dry. So this is going to mimic a lot like what the mod delay does. And again, this is shortest to longest, shortest to longest. They're all different times. So you can get a ton of different variation just from the HAAS effect alone. But the real magic of green HAAS, the question that I got earlier is how do you keep phase coherency and use the HAAS effect? Well, check it out. So if I start the watering can all the way dry, it's going to be mono center. And then as I add wet, it's still going to stay mono center, and it's going to add the HAAS effect behind the dry center. So you're keeping your coherency in the middle using the watering can before you add the HAAS effect. And listen to what this does. So you hear that is still phase coherent, but it spreads it out nicely behind it. And one other trick that I do is this one. And what I'm doing here is these are all maybe 10, 15 milliseconds apart here, but they're a good 50 milliseconds back. So it's almost like a slap. But when you keep the watering can like a little bit to the left, then it doesn't sound like a slap. It just sounds like you're filling out the stereo field while you're keeping it really phase coherent in the center. And this works on vocals great too. Usually on vocals, I'll have the setting about right here. And it just adds this little bit of depth to your vocal. You don't even really, it's like one of those, you don't miss it until it's gone. If you mute it or bypass this, you'd be like, oh, what the hell happened? But when you're listening to it in the mix, you don't even really perceive it as like this stereo spreader on the vocal. And then you can add modulation. It just gives you different flavors. A little bit of almost phasing that you can hear. So again, I'm going about medium. Maybe this is around 25 to 35, 45 range. It's still the HAAS effect on left-right, but the dry keeps it coherent. And I'm getting that flanging effect using the rose modulator and the fertilizer, which is like feedback. But again, these are super short delay times. So that if you're adding feedback, you're feeding back on like a 40 millisecond delay. So it doesn't sound like a repeat. It just sounds like almost reverb. But with the modulator, it sounds like flanged reverb. All right, and to take you guys home on the broadcast, I am gonna fire up just the music track to this and throw on LOLCOMP and just go through a bunch of the different presets on it. So we cooked up, the LOLCOMP comes with 100 presets that are taken straight from my and Dom Ravinius's mix sessions, and it's basically settings that I used exactly on my mix session, saved it as a preset, and then loaded it into LOLCOMP, and that's what you guys get. So I'm going to take the stereo mix and back it off a little bit and try some LOLCOMP on just the music. And I'm just going to scroll presets so that you guys get a little bit of the preset flavors on this. The presets all have names that kind of coincide with what they should sound best on, but that's not always the case. And does anybody know the only thing better than a parallel? I fucked that one. that is our show for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Ken Lewis, and this is Mixing Night. We are going to be back first Wednesday in September, and that is going to be compression night. So obviously we're going to put LOLCOMP up against a bunch of other things and show you just a ton of compression techniques. I'm going to show you how to hear compression, how to hear slow attack, fast attack, slow release, fast release. And that's going to be a huge help. I will do that for ear training, and I will not cancel ear training next time. So LOLCOMP pre-sale right now. If you still haven't gotten the pre-sale, you can go to mixingnightaudio.com, and LOLCOMP pre-sales right there. We're blowing it out for $97 until August 14th, and then it goes up to $149, worth every penny. Pre-order now. Thank you for joining me on Mixing Night, and we will see you in September. All right, good night.